How's everyone doing? Today I have a horror Blu-ray and DVD update with 6 pickups. If you've seen any of them, definitely let me know what you think of them and let me know which one of these is your favorites. Leave me a comment down below. First up is Down a Dark Hall, and I was really kind of surprised by this. It had so much hype and buzz and promotion for it, and then once it hit the theaters, it just completely disappeared. I like the cast here a lot. The young actresses were really good, as well as Uma Thurman. I didn't even realize that was her initially. And it had really good atmosphere and a lot of potential, but I feel like it just misses the mark and falls flat, especially in the third act. And this is directed by Rodrigo Cortez, who directed Red Lights and Buried. And I think he does a great job with atmosphere and storytelling normally. But this is, again, it just has the potential there, but I feel like it misses the mark. Certain things were underutilized, and then the final act was just the biggest thing that kind of let me down for this one. It's basically about this girl right here, Kit, who is getting in trouble a lot, and she is basically urged to go to this school for troubled girls. And her parents kind of basically say, this is your last chance, and she reluctantly ends up going. She's getting in legal trouble and getting kicked out of her regular school, so she doesn't really have any other options. So she ends up going to the school. It's this big, sprawling school, almost like a old school mansion-esque, old classic kind of school, boarding school. And when she gets there, she realizes there's only a few girls in the school, and there's only a couple teachers, and then the head mistress, played by Uma Thurman. And also you have Isabel Fuhrman right there, who plays the character of Izzy, very fitting for the name. She was the lead actress in Orphan, which I think is an amazing horror movie, and I would definitely recommend that one. So it's good to see a familiar face there. I thought she played her role well, but kind of underutilized. I think she's a good, talented young actress, and she should have had a little bit more of a role. But essentially, as soon as they're doing the tour of the school, there's this one dark hall, hence the title, and Kit starts to go to look there, and Uma Thurman's like, "Don't go down there. It's not ready yet. It's not good to go down there." So of course, you know what happens. There's a lot of weird things start happening. They start becoming prodigies. She played piano when she was younger, but really hasn't played it much, and then all of a sudden she becomes a virtuoso. Another girl starts becoming a mathematician, genius. Another one a phenomenal writer. Another one a phenomenal artist, and they're trying to figure out why is this happening. They feel like they're kind of possessed, and they're trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. And there is, what I liked about this was kind of like the wraparound story with her father, how that starts and how that ends. I wish they played that up a little bit better, but that's one of the things I really did appreciate. And it had a good atmosphere. I liked the school as a whole. I thought that was really kind of foreboding. It did utilize some jump scares, although one jump scare was actually pretty decent. I'm not usually a fan of jump scares. They're kind of cheap. But this one worked, at least one of them. And I kind of just wish that they did a little bit more, especially, again, in the third act. The concept was interesting, but just a missed opportunity overall. But really good atmosphere, good acting. I just wanted more from it. And it is a nice release from Lionsgate right here. The special features are Welcome to Blackwood, which is the school, venturing down a dark hall, and then deleted scenes. Next up is Hereditary, which is also from Lionsgate. This is from A24 Studios. Hereditary, to me, is not only one of the creepiest movies of recent years, but one of the creepiest horror movies ever. This, to me, just blew me away. I'm usually skeptical when a movie has a lot of hype and buzz, but to this one, it just completely surpassed my expectations. Just floored by it. It was one that I still think of to this day. I've seen it a couple times, and it's just haunting, creepy. I watched this with somebody, and for the first time we were both joking about it, and we still joke about it, like, oh, Tony's creeping up on the wall over there, better watch out. But basically this is about a family and their grandmother, who's the matriarch. She passes away, and the young daughter right there, Charlie, who is creepy, starts getting even stranger, and weird things start happening, and she does super weird and creepy things. And they're kind of trying to figure out what's going on. These little things start adding up. And this is one of those ones where I feel like a lot of people miss things about it. There's certain things that are said and done, certain aspects of characters and relationships and connections that basically come full circle and make sense by the end of the movie. And it just kind of adds an extra layer of depth. And the ending, to me, the climax, was just mind-blowingly amazing, and I actually felt like they gave you too much. I felt like they kind of spoon-fed a little bit at the ending, and I felt like that wasn't necessarily needed. I kind of would have preferred a little bit of ambiguity, but I think it still worked well, and it's just a masterpiece of horror. And this is the theatrical directorial debut of Ari Aster, and this was an incredible directorial debut. I can't wait to see what he does in the future. Some good special features here too. Curse the True Nature, Hereditary, deleted scenes, Evil in Miniature, photo gallery. Again, tons of atmosphere here. All the actors across the board were amazing in their roles. Again, just super, super creepy. One of the creepiest movies I've ever seen, period, hands down. This is one where it has some dramatic pacing, but the payoff is incredible. There's just a sense of foreboding all throughout. There's a scene in here that totally caught me off guard, and then I love what they did with it. There's very few movies that can surprise me like that. Like Psycho was one where something happens early on in the movie, and then you're just kind of thrown for a loop, and then you start falling like at this different area, and that kind of is what happens here. But what happens with the different characters, the evolutions of them, you find out more of the family history, the mystery of it all, the grandmother, her intentions, the reasons for certain things being said. It's like a puzzle piece that comes together and just fits perfectly by the end, and I absolutely love it. I can't recommend this one enough. It's just one of the best horror movies I've seen in a long time, and definitely one of the creepiest horror movies I've seen ever. I know I've already said that, but it's just, I get excited when I'm talking about this movie because rarely does a movie surpass my expectations. And let me know, what's the creepiest horror movie to you? Next up is a release from Starz, also being released now by Anchor Bay. This is the complete collection of Ash vs. the Evil Dead, which was, to me, just canceled way before its time. It is a great mixture of humor and gore. The horror elements were amazing. The cast chemistry also. I love Ray Santiago, who played Pablo, and then Dana De Lorenzo, who played Kelly, and then you have Lucy Lawless right there, Ruby, and then Bruce Campbell as Ash. Just incredible. Let me know what your favorite adaptation of Ash is, essentially Evil Dead, all the whole realm, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, Ash vs. the Evil Dead remake, which just recently got an uncut version, and there's even a play for it too. So let me know which iteration is your favorite of the Evil Dead. So yeah, there's so many to choose from, but I love this show. I can't believe it was canceled after only 3 seasons. I know Netflix initially passed on it, but I feel like Netflix is a great home for this, and I hope maybe that they consider picking it up. I would love to see Bruce Campbell return as Ash. Just so much fun. If you are a fan of Evil Dead, highly recommend this one. I feel like even newcomers can appreciate this one. They give a lot of the backstory, and there's flashbacks, and the whole rehashing of it, the characters. They go more in depth, way more in depth. It's just so much fun. Great gore effects. The humor is perfect. There is a digital copy, and then there's an episode guide on each disc right there. You've got swing tray, which I appreciate. Swing tray is just such a simple thing, but it adds a lot to a release. I don't like it when discs are stacked or there's sleeves or anything like that. The swing tray is cheap and effective and perfect. My only gripe about this release are, I believe most of the Blu-ray season standalone ones had slipcovers, and this doesn't have a slipcover. That's my only slight criticism about this release. Great besides that, some right there you have all the different seasons. They have special features by seasons as well, and then the digital copy. Just a great show. I hope that it gets picked back up. Amazing. Next up from Warner Archive, which is doing a great job with their horror and cult titles. They've released some really good ones, including Bad Ronald recently. I really like the releases for Night School and Hidden, which I think are kind of underrated gems. But this is a classic, Village of the Damned. This was, of course, remade by John Carpenter. This, to me, has that classic Twilight Zone episode kind of feel, where there's a small town of Midwich, and then one day, all of a sudden, all the townspeople are like knocked out, and they don't remember what happened. And then shortly after, many of the women end up giving birth to these kids all on the same day. And that kind of is reminiscent of Bloody Birthday. And I wonder if Bloody Birthday was somewhat inspired by some of what this was involved with right there, with that aspect of the kids being born on the same day and, the creepiness of it. But basically, all the kids turn out to be, blonde-haired, and they have sometimes they have these glowing eyes, but these kids can basically read your mind, and if you think of hurting them or doing something they don't like, they can kill you. So basically all the adults are freaking out trying to get to the bottom of what happened, and they figure out that this has happened before in other places. It's a great example of what low budget filmmaking can do. Very creepy, atmospheric, and effective. I love the ending to it. And just the creepiness of the kids were amazing. So basically the townspeople are just trying to figure out how to stop these kids and just kind of reclaim order. And I absolutely love it. Great storytelling. Just a classic right there, and a great release as well from Warner Archive. It's great to see it get the Blu-ray treatment right here. You have a great special feature here, commentary by Chronicles of Terror Silent Scream author Steve Haberman. Really in-depth and insightful. This definitely encapsulates the evil, creepy, killer kid genre. Definitely a fine example of it as well. And let me know what your favorite evil, creepy, killer kid movie is. Again, for me, Island of the Damned, aka Who Can Kill a Child, is my all-time favorite evil killer kid movie, but there's so many different great ones out there. Again, I mentioned Bloody Birthday, which I think definitely took some elements of this film and just changed some things, and I think that one really worked well. So again, let me know what your favorite evil, killer, creepy kid movie is. Next up on DVD, this also has a Blu-ray release. This is from RLJ Entertainment. Mandy, starring Nicolas Cage, and this is a Panos Cosmatos picture, who also did Beyond the Black Rainbow, and I definitely prefer Mandy over Beyond the Black Rainbow, but you can tell it has that very stylized feel. This is basically what I consider it to be is a surreal art house film meets a revenge thriller, but just a crazy acid trip of a movie, literally. Yeah, you see the back shots right there. Nicolas Cage, people kind of put down his acting style thinking he's over the top, but he was made for this role. He was perfect for this role. I couldn't really picture anybody else doing it justice like he did. And there's certain scenes that kind of remind me of his role in Bad Lieutenant, Port of New Orleans. I felt like it was basically that kind of role, especially when he's doing certain drugs in it. I was like, oh, it's Bad Lieutenant, but with blood and gore. But basically, Nicolas Cage and his girl, they live in this house in the middle of the woods, kind of isolated, and they're basically, together. And then all of a sudden, there's this crazy cult, and they drive by and see her, Mandy, and they basically abduct her and kill her, and then he's out for revenge, and he's hunting them down. And then there's one scene where I thought they were going to go a certain direction. They went a completely different direction. I kind of wish they would have gone that route. There's these crazy biker, they look like demons. They look like they're from Hellraiser, but then it turns out it's something different, and I wish they would have gone the other route. There's certain scenes in here where I feel like there could have been edited, but I understand what they're going for with the layers of it, and layers in multiple terms, but and I think it does work, but it could be tweaked a little bit, and it could be a full masterpiece. I still think it's really enjoyable, probably one of the better movies I've seen of the year. It is insane, it is violent, and the gore effects definitely get better as the movie goes along with the kills. Yeah, it's a bloody rampage filled movie with Nicolas Cage taken as a vengeance, and I do think it's almost like a bit of the Devil's Candy heavy metal horror-esque elements going on, and I really liked seeing the cameo by Bill Duke. I wish he had a bit of a more expanded role. I think they kind of underutilized him a bit, but really stylistic, kind of hypnotic at times. And Mandy herself is super creepy. There's a scene with like flames going, you see her face, and then you hear some of her backstory, and they don't fully explain the scar, but with the backstory you kind of get an idea of what could have happened, so you can tell she's had kind of a terrible life, and then worse things start happening. But she's utterly terrifying in certain scenes, just the way that they kind of choose to light the scenes, and they focus on certain parts of her, the eyes and the scar, and the way that she's looking, just kind of vacant. Definitely very creepy. Again, I nitpick about the editing of certain scenes, but overall I still think this is an incredible film. Definitely worth checking out. And this has special features behind the scenes and then deleted and extended scenes. Another gripe that I could say is the ending. I feel like they could have done something a little bit different, added a little bit to it, but I definitely think it was satisfying. So that's Mandy. I would definitely recommend checking out. Again, for me, one of the, I'd say at least top 15 movies of the year thus far that I've seen. And let me know what your favorite movie of the year is. Next up is Sleep No More on DVD only, and this is also from RLJ Entertainment. I think this was an interesting concept, something very unique that we haven't seen before, but definitely a big missed opportunity. I feel like maybe they couldn't do as much, maybe budgetary constraints, but I also felt like the whole budget must have gone to the soundtrack, because they had Pet Shop Boys, Duran Duran, Bananarama. They're trying to give it that authentic 80s feel with the music that's set in the 80s, but I feel like they must have wasted so much money, or spent, I shouldn't say wasted because it was great to hear, but it felt out of place as well. But they spent so much money on the soundtrack, I feel like they could have done more with the effects. The effects were definitely something I did not appreciate, just didn't look good. And I definitely wanted more, especially from the ending. The ending was a letdown, even though I understand what they were trying to do with it. Basically, it's about these 5 graduate students doing a sleep study. And they're basically saying once you reach 200 hours without sleep, you'll never need to sleep again. That's their hypothesis, and they're basically trying to revolutionize the world and think of all the great things that they can do with all the minds out there if they can get past that. And they're using this sleep drug as well, and there's like a teacher who's overseeing it. But it starts off with basically a suicide, or so they think, of another student, and then they basically decide to push on after the investigation to continue to do it because they think it will change the world. Then once they start doing it, certain things start happening. They start seeing these hallucinations and visions, or are they real, or are they not real? Again, I like the unique concept. It was creative, but that was pretty much the only thing that worked for it. The acting was hit or miss. Again, the soundtrack was great too. It did have some good atmosphere, but I felt like it was a missed opportunity with what they were trying to do. They needed to have done more with the budget, especially effects-wise. The CG effects were terrible. The writing kind of went downhill. I felt like they could have done more with different character backstories, and especially the ending. The ending was just a letdown for me. I liked one aspect about it, but then the rest of it was just fell apart. It could have been so much better. I like the concept, but disappointed in the execution of it. Hopefully somebody else will do something similar, or maybe they will get a bigger budget and revisit it. This one to me felt unfortunately below average, and I couldn't really give this one a wide recommendation unless you're really big fans of low budget horror with low expectations, essentially, because it does have some decent ideas, but it just doesn't fully come to fruition. So there you go. There are my 6 horror Blu-rays and DVDs. If you see any of them, definitely let me know what you think of them, and let me know which one is your favorite. Leave me a comment or video response down below. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care.